All right, I'm Larry Jameson, and I hate doing videos where my face is the center of attention. But America, you're forcing me to. We have got to get a grip on some things. My God, are we really going to be as hateful as we're being and as petty and let our democracy just crumble? But we need to talk about the gays, because there is a lot of dissecting going on for years. And the recent example we have, of course, is the Methodist Church almost splitting over on what to do with the gays. Okay, so I just feel like in all this dialogue and dissecting that what's really absent are our faces, are the stories of people, because there's a lot of assumptions made that you guys need to know is not true. And one of those is that when we find out that we might be gay, or that we are gay, or maybe we're really not, and we just cling to it because it just sounds like so much fun, that we go out and do cartwheels, and we go to the bars and have lots of sex and drugs, and it's just all good old days, it's just all a blast, and it's all dildos and sex toys. And for some people it might be that way, just like in any straight thing too. But that's not so with many of us. Matter of fact, I've been to several outings with people that are out, and even they struggle with what's going on within our own community, let alone outside of it, as far as those kind of stereotypes. And because the stereotypes do exist in any culture, they can exist. And if you focus on those, then of course you're going to be troubled. You a story, and also share with you a story of a friend of mine. I was somebody that if you're not wanting your kid to be gay, or you're not wanting your church member to be gay, you would have loved me, because I was not dragged into anything. When I accepted, well, I shouldn't say accepted, when I faced that, something's different about me in my 20s, I had been dealing with it ever since I was young, but I only faced it in my 20s. I did not want to be gay, and I didn't think that there really was such a thing. I thought it was a lie, like many of you might believe or might see as just a perversion. Well, I was right on board with you. And I went through church ministry. When the internet broke out, I connected across the country and traveled across the country, and went to Exodus International conferences, and I moved in with people to try and be closer to those kind of things. Studied the Christian mystics, and really Christian mysticism, and those kind of outlaying Christian gurus of our past history got me through my mental breakdowns that I hid, because I did not want to be a spiritual failure, but also just a failure as a son, as a man. I did not, and I probably should have really taken myself to a hospital, but I did my best to hide it, and God helped me through that. But the weight of that was just terrific too. But my sexuality was just exploding inside of me, and I could do nothing about it, because I was trying to be Christ-like, as the evangelicals and fundamentalist faiths that I was a part of were training me to be more like Christ and rely more on the Spirit. And those things weren't without benefit, but there's certain aspects of our humanity that are far more complex than that. and we just don't realize it, and I'll explain that more in a minute. So I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Anthony Gosser, who recently experienced something similar that I have experienced in churches, which I may share mine at the end after his sharing. But this is my interview with Anthony, and we start with the question of what it was like for him coming out, how he basically determined that he was gay. So we're going to just jump right into that interview right now.
So I knew I was bisexual when I saw magazines with heterosexual couples, and I would look both at the woman and at the guy, and I liked both of that, but at the same time I would never act upon it because of the taboo when I was growing up. You know, straight is more common. So when I was going through my previous relationship with a girl and she cheated on me, saw a therapist, went through the whole suicide gig. My therapist had recommended Affirmations. It's an LGBT community center, and since then I've been attending out a coming out support group and meeting up with like-minded individuals, and that honestly it sort of saved my life and it gave me a different perspective. And eventually down the road is where I met my current boyfriend, and he sort of positions my mindset from where I was with my ex-girlfriend to how happy I am right now. So I don't necessarily think about the past, but yeah, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
Okay, that's great. So Anthony, tell me about your church experience, like what you liked about it, what it meant to you to be there.
Yep. So I attended Northridge Church over in Plymouth. It's a non-denominational church, and I went there because my twin sister started going there, and I attended a support group for depression, and I met somebody else who is part of the community as well because she knew I went to Affirmations and she's lesbian, and we became close since then, and I enjoy what they talk about because they relate biblical views to today's real world experience, what everybody else is going around, and it put things to perspective, and that's one thing I liked about it. And there was a class that I wanted to take with my partner, who is a guy. It's called enrichment, and it's about being thriving yourself, your relationship with God, and your relationship with your partner.
So what did Northridge and being there mean to you?
Uh, it it gave me a sense of hope, in a sense, a purpose to move forward with my life after all the crap that I've been through, my suicide attempts, my heartbreak. I lost hope and I lost my faith, and it sort of gained me my spirit back. So yeah.
Okay, good. So tell me about the circumstances that made you feel, or at least question, whether you belonged there or not.
Um, well, I didn't know what their take was on homosexuality, although Pastor Brad had made a comment saying, gay marriage became legalized, but he is not one to judge. Only the Lord is to judge. So it kind of put a question mark there.
Yeah, I think you said he had said love is love.
Yeah, love is love. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Um, but then it came to where I was going to go to another support group, to build my relationship with God in addition to my relationship with my partner. And I had approached I graduated high school with her. When I took a depression group at the church, she was co-facilitating it, and I told her, I'm like, hey, can I take this with my boyfriend? And she's like, oh yeah, I don't think, we'll have any issues with it. God loves everybody. But let me just double check with my supervisor. So long story short, she checked with her supervisor, had a meeting set up on a Sunday, and that meeting was with her supervisor, and they basically said that um, they've never had this before. They don't feel it would be comfortable for me to take the class with my partner who is of the same sex, um, and all this other stuff. And it really irked me because that the lady, the supervisor, has a son who is gay, and I was asking questions to her. I'm like, well, what do you think? Is your son? Is he gonna go to heaven or is he gonna go to hell? She's like, well, I hope he goes to heaven. You know, I'm not one to judge. You think God loves him? God loves everybody. And I'm like, then why am I not able to take this class with my partner? And she's like, it's not, you know, we don't feel comfortable doing it. And then I asked for Pastor Brad's contact information, and they refused to give it to me. And then I started getting upset, and I'm like, what is this, a freaking business? I mean,
Right.
they treat it more like a corporation than a church. They really do. And it put a bad taste in my mouth. So, long story short, I found Pastor Brad's email through social media, and I wrote him an email with questions in bold because I want him to answer them.
Good for you.
And I haven't heard anything. It's been, gosh, at least a month and a half. So
You've never heard anything
never heard
back.
anything. Nope.
So how does that make you feel? I mean, it had to be awkward just going in there with a supervisor. I mean, I've never heard a church doing that,
Yeah.
just over wanting to attend a class. So,
Yep.
I mean, here you've been going to this church for what, 3 years?
Almost 3 years, yeah.
Almost 3 years. So, how did you feel after that?
I felt defeated, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. It sucks when you finally feel like you belong somewhere, and then
Right.
you're being told, hey, we may not accept you. I'm sorry. I'm like, so this whole entire time I'm building my relationship with God. You're kicking me out.
Hmm. Right. And what did your partner feel?
And he felt the same.
Yeah.
He's upset as well.
Well, that's all awful, and I thank you for sharing all that. A lot of us have been through things like that too, myself included. What's your plans for going forward now?
My family still goes to the church, and it's weird because they left another church that was St. Colette, which is more Bible based, and the pastor had said something about homosexuality. It put a bad taste in their mouth, so they stopped going there and they went to Northridge Church. And now this is happening, but they are still going, and I'd like to still go, maybe for a little bit. And after Mass, we try to see if we can run into Pastor Brad, because he's usually upstairs with his dog. So after Mass, Jay and I, my boyfriend, will go up there, try to find him.
He's pretty guarded.
He is guarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have key cards, beep, to get into certain areas. And I'm like, God, this is like a corporate, just doesn't, I don't know, I'm so confused right now. But we're giving it time. But we did find another church called Brightmoor Church. Jay found it, which is...
Jay's your boyfriend.
Jay's my boyfriend, which is halfway between where he lives and where I live. And we met with the pastor there, and they're LGBT affirming.
That's great.
Yeah. So, being that the pastor took time from his schedule to meet up with us,
Wow.
give us a tour of the place, like it's
Actual some normalcy, right?
Yeah.
Acceptance,
very
and
cool.
that's great. Well, thanks for sharing. And you're really brave with what you're doing, even going back there, even having that meeting and being willing to sit under that and still going back. That's amazing. You're a testament, and you're being a witness. Most people would just run and just say, forget it. So
God loves you.
awesome. Thank you, Anthony. What we need to fess up to in the world and in the church is that there is no straight or gay necessarily for everybody. And I'm just saying for everybody that's not the case. And I discovered that within myself, but not just within myself. As I said earlier, I traveled the country. I have talked to people on both sides of this issue, on all sides. I've met with closeted pastors and pastors who are out, and people from all walks of life. And sexuality is fluid. There's so much difference, and the problem is that we won't face up to it. We won't teach our kids it, and we grow up with these standards and with this terrible weight we put on ourselves and each other, that you have to be a certain way in order to fit in. And it just so happens that the reality is that none of us are that way. When are we going to own up to it? I lost a good part of my life struggling with this stuff and being bullied and seeking answers all over the place. And now there's still people being kicked out of churches and not feeling at home at churches, just like I was. I still have to work in a field that has it where in their bylaws I can be fired just for being gay. The weight of that is just, it's exhausting, and it has just devastated many lives. People have committed suicide, but also my life. And you need to realize that you think people just want to embrace this. They have electric shock therapy to try and get it out of them just because of what you people are saying out there that you think is right or wrong when you don't know. You haven't lived in our shoes and our lives. Do you know at LGBT community centers, people come in and they're struggling just to accept it, to deal with the stereotypes that are out there that exist, because that's all they have left, because you guys have kicked them out of their homes, of their churches, of their place of work. So your beliefs are kicking these people out, when the reality is that a large part of us struggle with this. And if we were honest with it, we could help each other. Anyhow, I guess I want to end this video by saying that, you know what, I don't have all the answers. I don't. But do you? Really? Because if you do, even Paul the Apostle said he didn't feel that way. He said he was still working out his salvation with fear and trembling. He didn't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. So let's stop pretending that we do, and shame and continue this shaming, and we're not going to let you be a part of us. Let's just stop it. And let's teach our kids right. We're teaching about sexuality in schools. We need to face up to the fact that sexuality is fluid. And people are straight, they're bi, they can't even, sometimes can't even identify with what they are. They're transgender. You know, we have things like hermaphrodites. So why is transgender so difficult for us to get our minds around? The human body and the chemicals within the human body are so complex. One little thing that's different changes a whole bunch of stuff. Why can't we believe that that happens? Why does it have to be bad? Let's stop this ridiculous shaming and putting people out. Do you realize the weight that people have breakdowns and kill themselves over your judgments? Please stop it and get yourself rooted in love. If you can't understand it, then at least get yourself rooted in love, and love may open your eyes. Let the light of God open your eyes, because God is love. That's what it says in the Bible. If you want to go back to the Bible, God is love. And if you're showing anything other than that, you're showing higher judgment over that you think you're above using love, then you're in more trouble than any gay person is. So please, just think about this. Think about people's lives, because that's what's being messed with here. Thank you.